Welcome to Let's Talk Business. I'm your host, James Price. This podcast has been designed to address business pain points, often neglected, but if dealt with correctly, can really enhance business value and performance. I've had over 30 years experience in business, and I currently own JPO Business Proprietary Limited, a business valuation, advisory and transaction firm. We help private business clients across Australia and internationally grow, change and enhance the value of their businesses. Hey guys, welcome to today's episode 2 podcast, Let's Talk Business. I'm your host, James Price, and today we're with Trisha Cashmere, CEO and business owner of the Healthy Body Company. Welcome, Trish.
James, how are you?
Very well. It's lovely to have you on board.
Thank you.
So the Healthy Body Company is a physio business,
Yes.
Physiotherapist business. And before we start, I've got to admit a conflict here, a slight conflict, because I'm actually a client of your business.
You are.
And I've got a lot of satisfaction and admiration for your business. But it's a great opportunity to talk about the Healthy Body Company and what you and the team have done. So you've got 4 locations now in South and Western Sydney, I think Caringbah, Penrith, Jordan Springs and Mount Annan. Very
good, James. Yes,
yeah.
That's definitely where we are at the moment. But I mean, we were primarily a Western Sydney-based business for a very long time.
Oui.
But one of our growth has been very much about providing our team with the opportunities that they want, both in work and in life. And so we had a team member that was in the Sutherland Shire. He was very keen to stay with the team, but wanted to work closer to home. And so that was how that business kind of popped up there. It'll probably be the only one that way, I think.
Oh no, that's very good. And so, what does the business do? What services do you provide? You know, I'm interested. Physiotherapy. I mean, it's a pretty wild field, isn't it?
Well, it can be. So at university, we learn how to manage musculoskeletal injuries, which is probably why you attended. Yeah. So all of the aches and pains that you might have, but also neurological injuries. So people who've had head injuries, or brain injuries or strokes, cardiorespiratory physio. So if you're in hospital, you would have potentially been seen by a physio who would have assisted you with, breathing. And then we work in aged care. We work in sort of industrial environments. So physiotherapy in workplaces. I think pretty much, I don't even know if I'm covering them all, but there's a lot. We though are very much based on that sort of health and fitness and keeping everybody active and living the lives that they want to lead. That's our focus.
Yeah, it's a pretty big area though, isn't it? And how more important than, mentally and physically healthy lives as an individual, and your business is involved in helping people do that basically.
Well, I don't think there's anything more important than, feeling fit, healthy, strong, being able to live the life that you want to lead. And that looks like a different thing for everybody.
Yes.
For some people, being fit and healthy is being able to get up each day and, get to work comfortably and do the things they want to do. For other people, it's, I want to run. We've just had people do a 100-mile run.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I know, right? I don't know why you would do that, frankly. But we've provided the support that people need to do, crazy things like that too. So whatever it is, you want to feel like you're able to live your life the way you want to live it, and you don't want there to be physical limitations, or you don't want them to be more than what they have to be, because we all have probably some limitations, but we, as much as possible, help you to reach your individual kind of capacity and potential.
Yeah, I like that. And I guess it, and I probably want to tease this out a bit further, but in a little while, but it probably adds a bunch of complexities to how you service different clients, because they've all got perhaps slightly different expectations.
Yes and no. So it's very much about, we attract the clients that our team want to see. And I have a pretty decent sized team. I think I've got 19 physiotherapists now. 19? Maybe. It could be 18, I don't know. Anyway, a number like that.
That's a lot of expertise, right?
Well, it's a lot of expertise. It's an amazing brains trust, but it's also a lot of people with their kind of subspecialties and interests. So, I know that you've seen particular members of our team who have, interests that are really aligned with what you want to do.
Yes.
But we've also got members of our team who might be really interested in helping women who've just had children, get back to their physical capacity, or people who, we've got one team member who likes working with older women. Just, they listen to him talk about his children and he finds that really engaging. Makes his the days go well. So we sort of have someone for everyone in lots of ways. We haven't niched down. Like a lot of people in our industry very much, create a very narrow niche that their business markets to. We haven't done that because I recognise that the members of my team all have their own niche. But as a business, that means that we can actually offer a really broad service to lots of different members of the community.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the specialisation is the diversity of the team rather than the specialisation around the line that
absolutely
the business is servicing.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we like a community. We want to be able to manage, service a community rather than service a segment of the community.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is a biased comment, right? But the service I've received, I would say, like technically, I've been given, good service advice and assistance. But there's something more in what's provided. It's almost that individual aspect, but, when I go through the front doors of your business, the people I deal with, I feel like they're part owners of the business, right? And it's sort of a weird concept in some respects, but there's something a little bit more, and I'm wondering, can you unpack why that is for me, or maybe it's just me, and I'm daydreaming or something, but it is a factor, I feel.
Yeah. So some of them are part owners. That's part of it, right? So I'm not the full owner of every part of every business. Our growth strategy has been to provide opportunities for members of our team to open a new location and take an ownership part of that, which, is incredible if you're a young person trying to get into a new business, having, the backing. So it's not a franchise model. They are owners. Yeah. And that has worked really well. So they do have ownership. But we really, everything we do is about, in terms of our kind of our goals and values, it's very much about making sure that every client understands, we say the client is the hero of our story. That's actually one of our values. So, it's very much about what our patients need, what it is that they're looking for. And, it's drilled into everybody that every single touch point is so important. It's not just what the physio does. That's really important, obviously. But, it's what's that experience like on the phone? Are we really, getting the person in when they need to be there? What's it like when they walk in the door? Is everything looking the way that they would expect it to look, or hopefully they don't even notice because everything's exactly as it should be? If the physiotherapist is running late for whatever reason, is the receptionist saying, can I get you a cup of tea? Are they being attentive and making sure that person knows that even though maybe we're not meeting their time restraints at that time, we're still really aware that that's their time and it's valuable, and we're trying to do things to, make that experience less, so that when they get to see the physio, they've already had a lovely experience and they're already feeling quite, comfortable and good. Yeah. And then they have this great experience with our physio team who absolutely want to get the best outcome for every patient, who have the whole team behind them. So my physios have various ways that they communicate. So you would have seen in our clinics them talking to each other and engaging. Maybe sort of bringing someone over and saying, hey, check out this on James.
Look at this problem.
That's right. What am I going to do? But then across the broader team, we have a group chat that runs all the time. So if someone's got something interesting happening, they'll just pop it in and see what the physios at the other locations are thinking, and, their ideas about how they might approach that scenario, or even if it's not something in terms of I need advice, but hey, look at this is something that might help you with your learning, or, your next experience. So it's very, we really try and elevate every part for our team and for our, our patients.
That's interesting, because I certainly experienced the profession of what I think the profession of physiotherapy, but at a patient level in terms of that, development of ideas and triaging and thinking about how best to deal with a particular problem. Yep. So it's very interesting. But you're the CEO. So what does the CEO of a business like the Healthy Body Company do? What occupies your day?
You know what? So most of it's team, right? I spend...
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, if I broke my week down, probably 40% of my week is just focused on team things. I meet with every physio in our team every 3 months and put together an individual plan around, their personal development goals, their marketing goals for the business, and then business goals. and we're chatting through that all the time. We try and be an employer of choice. We try and do everything we can to support our team's individual needs. So, that can look like all different things in the environment that we're in. And when people have challenges or whatever it might be, we're in there backing behind them to try and support them through those things. But look, for me, I'm not maybe a typical business owner, typical CEO in that.
Why is that?
Well, because I'm not profit focused. I know
not profit focused.
I'm not profit. I know, in the sense that money's not the most important thing for me. Like, I want to feel like I have a good day, and obviously profit's important because a sustainable business is really important for everybody. But what I really want is just to have a work environment for my team, or a business where people come to work and feel like they're in the right place with the right people every day. And I'm sure they don't all have a great day every single day, but that really is what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, because a lot in business, there's a lot of talk about dollars and cents. Are you more of the view that, look, if you do the right things by your team and your people and your suppliers and what have you and the community, providing you've got a point of difference that's aligned to what people want, the dollars and cents kind of take care of themselves?
Well, that's definitely been our experience.
Yeah.
It's always, we're in health, right, which is a fantastic.
It's an amazing industry, isn't it?
We're never going to be the IT making, gazillions of multiples of whatever. Like, that's not what we do, but we're solid. A friend of mine always says, a good business is a boring business. And I kind of put us into that category. Like, we're just doing something, we're doing it as well as we can. And absolutely, that looks after itself. When I became involved in our business, one of the biggest challenges we had was staff turnover.
Yeah.
And so my goal really has been to sort of like stem that and to try and keep everybody, for as long as possible, but happy as long as possible, not just there.
Yeah.
And, we have amazing stability in our team. Like, most of my physios are with us for 3, 4, 5, more years. Which is really unusual in our industry. Like, there's a lot of turnover sort of it's so easy because there's like so many physios around. You can go, I'll just go and work, 10 minutes from home or whatever. But that, touch some wood, hasn't been our recent experience. But, we work really hard, like all those meetings with my team. That's 19 meetings in a week every 3 months. That's a lot of time, preparing and with people. But I do that very intentionally because I want them all to feel like I'm hearing them and I'm responsive to their suggestions about their individual work experiences or the experiences of their clients or other stuff that's going on, and that it continues to be and evolves into the place that they want to be.
Yeah, because one of the biggest pain points, I think, in most industries today is about being able to source enough people, the right standard and quality in terms of their capabilities, but also the retention issue is a huge factor. And as you say, touch wood, it's not necessarily 100% solvable, but what I'm hearing you, it's direct communication and regular communication and spending that time, because many people in your position in the label, head of the company or CEO, wouldn't be spending that much time with their people, would they? They'd be spending it on, I guess, business development, networking, the financials, other things, perhaps.
You can do lots of busy work.
But does it deliver value, is what you're...
Yeah, well, I don't know that it does. Like, the people are my business.
Yeah.
If I don't have the people, I don't have the business. So...
Yeah, no, that's pretty clear, I think. I'm excited about that. I want to come back on that, but I want to go back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Were you destined to own a physio business? How did this all happen?
How did it happen?
Like, where did it... You studied physio, did you not?
I did study physiotherapy a while ago. I didn't really like being a physio.
Shock. So you went to law, is that right?
I don't really like touching people that much. So I became a lawyer and I worked in the commercial space for about 10 years. And I really liked being a lawyer, actually.
What did you like about it?
Well, not having to talk to people. One part of it. I really like that deep thinking piece, though. I like, being given a complex problem and just being sent away to solve it, to come up with an answer. That was fun. And I was very fortunate to work in one of those rarefied big law firms where, Yeah, where you got the opportunity to work on, interesting projects, for big organisations. So that was good. But then I also, during that period, had 4 children, which unfortunately with law, maybe it's different now post-COVID, but certainly at that time, you really, it was very much about being seen to be there as much as anything.
So the kids were death sentenced to the law?
Well, yeah, one of them actually got cancer, which was definitely a death sentence to the law degree, the law career, because you can't just drop and run when you've got. I had one, and it wasn't because my son was sick, but once I did have to leave to pick up children from childcare, and I was in the middle of a case. And I gave, as I'm running out the door to try and get to childcare before 6 to pick up the kids, I gave one of the interns in the office a fax. So for people listening who've never heard of a fax, you can explain that later.
Out of the machine.
That's right. You could put a little note at the bottom with a link potentially. Anyway, I handed her a fax and said, fax this to the other side, and it was an offer to settle.
Yeah.
Really important in a legal case, because if you make an offer and then they get awarded something less than that, then you don't have to pay costs. So hugely important. Anyway, so I've chucked the offer, run out the door, in court the next morning, and I've got and we sent you, an offer to settle last night and you're still here. And they're like, really, this blank paper that we got at,
what's this?
6 o'clock last night? And I'm like, it was really tricky for reasons like that. Anyway, so that happened, and my husband had one physiotherapy clinic in Penrith.
Yes.
And I went, okay, well, maybe I can sort of fiddle around with that while we work out what the next step will be. And our son was still having treatment and needing to recover. So that was sort of 3 years of backwards and forwards from hospitals and whatnot.
Yeah.
So during that time, I had a chat with Jude Holroyd, who's the part owner at the Jordan Springs Clinic, and said, I've got this idea. I think, we could do this thing. What do you reckon? And he went, yeah, I'll give it a go. So while my son was sick, we started Jordan Springs, and it was a slower start. We were, obviously there was lots of other things happening. Also, we went in really early. So that was a new development in Western Sydney.
Yes.
I think maybe only stage 1 or 2 of that development had happened.
So it was still growing.
But we kind of went in early because we saw that it was a good opportunity, and it was able to work off our existing clinic in Penrith. So sort of, go out that way. And it went well. We went, this is okay. So then the opportunity came to go into the Caringbah business, which we did. And then Mount Annan happened because one of my team, who'd been with me for about 7 or 8 years, wanted to, get out on his own, but was really happy to get out on his own with us.
Yeah, nice.
So
that's the biggest.
We can do this.
Yeah, that's a big compliment, right? I feel in a way, isn't it? Right.
Well, he obviously didn't hate us, right?
No. He just wanted a slice of something good.
That's right. Yeah. So that was how they've all happened. So it's very much. And again, it's that team thing, right? So every move has been very much about what's going to be good for our team, what's going to help our people to grow, what's going to retain my team. So if I have to open a new business to keep a great team member, on we go.
Yeah, very good. So I'm not going to let you get away with moving on from law so quickly.
Okay.
I've got a brother who's a lawyer, and it always used to be difficult. We would have arguments and I would never win because of the issue that you mentioned. In the law, you're taught by good mentors, you think deeply about things, and you usually win the arguments one way or another. But what's the law experience? Is there stuff that you draw on from those days in terms of what you do today as a business owner and manager?
Well, I'm very fortunate that contracts don't scare me.
No.
No. So that's a huge advantage. But, the team thing's actually the thing that came out of the law. So my experience before I became a lawyer were in different health jobs, and health don't treat their people well, and they don't grow their people well, and they don't mentor their people well. No. in my experience, which is probably why I jumped out, because I just was frustrated by the fact that I didn't see anybody around me that I wanted to be. And I was very glib when I said, I didn't like touching people, so I changed. I didn't just jump out of physiotherapy. I actually tried different, jobs in different industries. So I went into occupational physiotherapy.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
And worked in that environment, and I worked in private practice. I worked in hospitals. I did some different stuff. But in every one of those scenarios, I didn't find, the people that inspired me to want to be them, or, that had trodden a pathway that I looked like I wanted to follow. And they certainly weren't supporting me to be really good at what I did. And there's nothing more frustrating than feeling like you've got the capacity to be really good at something, but not having the tools to be good at it and having nobody supporting you to do the things that you need to do. And this is pre-internet. Again, you're going to have to.
I remember.
So, there wasn't the access to, podcasts and, social streams and different things that support young professionals today.
Communities rely on.
That's right. You really relied very much on the teams around you. And if they weren't focused on supporting you or didn't have an interest or weren't particularly motivated or motivating, it was just, depressing. Yeah. Then I went into law where everybody was so into it and they were so motivated every day and the firms pushed you to be good. They anything better than great was unsatisfactory. Yeah. And I thrived in that environment. I really liked feeling like I was doing a great job. I loved being around people who were clearly doing a great job. It was so exciting for me. So when I came back into, this business and started growing this business, we created sort of a mentoring environment where people are supported, expected to reach their potential. Going in and doing a job isn't actually enough. You need to want to come in and be really, really, really good at it. And so we take graduates into our business every year. And my promise to them is that if they follow the program and they engage in the opportunity, they will actually be really good at the end of that first 12 months. They'll be so far ahead of their peers. And when you talk to our team, like they say, I went to a party and, oh my God, I know so much more than everybody else. I'm like, told you.
Yeah. But it's not just the lip service about it though.
Oh no.
When they feel that, no wonder your retention rate is much stronger because, like all of us, we're all getting barometers around the world as to how we're going relative to someone else.
Yep.
So that realisation that they're well ahead versus their peers that might be in another practice because of just the culture and how it's done is significant.
Yeah, that's right. And we invest heavily. We don't just, it doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah.
We pull people off clinic time to sit down with their mentor every week and, go through their stuff and make sure they're on track. And, we have lots of tools around them, supporting them to kind of achieve those things. Yeah. So it's a very deliberate thing. And that came from my experience as a lawyer. So
in terms of the team environment.
Just the whole thing, just that expectation and that investment in learning and improvement.
Nice.
When you were a junior lawyer, nothing came out of the office without going between you and your partner 10 times, as in your, law partner, not life partner, with lots of red pen. And, as the red pen diminished, you'd feel like you were making some progress. In physiotherapy, they get young ones that are just out of uni and they just give them a crack and off they go without anybody having any oversight on what they do.
I'd like to bring up something, as you talk me through that.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately think of the words continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of easy to say, but I think in a business environment, it's not necessarily easy to develop that culture, right? Where someone does something to the best of their abilities and at that time it's suitable for the client for whatever purpose. But then they have a similar assignment or a slightly different assignment. How do they wire themselves so that the next time they approach it, they don't just cookie cut, but they actually say, well, I've got the structure and the framework and what I did last time, but how do I refine it? How do I make it just that 1% better if it's 1%?
Yeah. So
it's a tricky,
it's not tricky.
It's not tricky?
No, it's not tricky. No, because that's exactly what we're doing. So that whole first year is very much focused on clinical reasoning. That is, every individual that comes through, there's a whole process that they go through in terms of their thinking to come up with a plan that's appropriate for that person. And what I always say to my team is that, the majority of physios will be able to fix 70% of people because the 70% of people will actually get an outcome from the cookie cutter approach, the recipe, right? Yeah. So you've come in with an unstable ankle, 7 out of 10 people with an unstable ankle, you give them a program, you make them stick to the program and they'll get an outcome, right? But then there's the other 30% who might have some additional complexity. So there might be maybe some cartilage damaged in their ankle as well, or some other part that's not quite right, that isn't immediately apparent because it can't be, maybe there's too much swelling or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're not thinking broadly and always in your mind all of the possibilities, you're just going to miss that, and they're just going to keep coming back for weeks and weeks until the person goes, actually I'm not better and I've had enough and physio doesn't work.
Yes.
That's not a satisfactory outcome in our team. We expect them to get that 30%, and it's very much about every person. We start with, okay, what have we got? And we take a whole history and we go through a whole process. We're not just trying to block people into, oh, that's a shoulder, or that's an ankle, or that's a knee, and off we go.
So very inquiring minds from the outset. Yeah.
From the outset. And we attract those people. Like when I do my interviews, right, it's actually, I'm intentionally a little bit scary, and I'll say to people, this is what we're offering you, right? It's amazing. It's all this stuff. You want to be a part of this, and here's what I expect back. And if you don't think you can actually meet these expectations, I don't want you to continue with this process. So go away and think about it. And I want you to come back to me tomorrow and say yes or no. And I'm 100% fine if you say no. But if you say yes, we'll be all in with you, but you have to be all in too.
So is that about, it's just straight transparency, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. So does that shock a few interviewees? How do they respond?
A few people say no. People do actually say, this isn't for me.
That's a good thing,
Perfect
right?
outcome.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than me investing all that effort, and not just me, the whole team are investing in these people, right? Yeah. The whole team are bringing them along. If someone comes in and after 6 months goes, or, from the very start, we're having to push them. It's nobody wants this.
Isn't it interesting? I mean, totally out of physio, right? I was dealing with a client of mine who's in industrial products sales and service. And they've got a team of about 15 people, had some real churn of late. And that sector's affected by the mining industry and the construction sector. So it's like any industry at the moment, it's very, very tight in terms of staff. And we were looking at a couple of individuals for key roles. And I was taking them through, look, this particular role is a supervisionary role, right? So it needs technical expertise, but it most of all needs team management, team supervision, team leadership. And the dude they were looking at had technical expertise a mile long. But I said, have you asked questions around their ability to manage a team? What have they done in terms of managing a team? Well, they hadn't focused on that. And so they were going to, because they realised that's key. And they said, James, they said, look, normally in this circumstance, we'd be so impatient, we'd just grab the guy and sign them up. But he said, we're learning, the more we talk about this, that we need to be more patient, And I think patience in a recruitment process, I for one have learned that one needs to be a lot more patient in a recruitment process, and it's about getting the right signals, and I no doubt your transparency approach, it soon surfaces whether there's a fit or not a fit.
Yeah, well, that's what we hope. And I think in terms of the longevity of their employment, absolutely, it's determined at that very starting point. Yeah. But I don't like recruitment. That's a big chunk of my 40% too, and it's hard work. It's a tight environment at the moment.
Yeah, it is a tight environment. Trisha, am I right in saying you came back into the business, not came back, but you came into the business in 2014?
Yeah, 2013, 2014.
And if you flip forward to today, how has the industry that you're a player in, how has it changed in that time? What are, physiotherapy and allied health, but particularly what your business does, what's the major difference between then and now, do you think?
Yeah, so and the name that we have, so the Healthy Body Company, which doesn't have the word physiotherapy in it, right? Which is interesting to some people, is very much about that. So I feel like what's happened is that the people who are using our services are more aware of their health and their wellness. And so, maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, a physiotherapy clinic wouldn't have the sort of gym equipment that you would have seen.
Exactly.
Yeah, which we have in all of our clinics now. So we sort of recognise that kind of empowering people to take some responsibility for their own health and wellness is a big part of what we're doing, and showing them how to do that and facilitating that kind of move. Not that the gym necessarily is the best environment for everybody, but we actually do know that everybody needs to be doing some strength work. That if you are 70, you can have the, muscle bulk of a 40-year-old if you're doing the right work. If you're a 70-year-old and you're not doing the right work, you're going to have some very sad-looking little muscles that are not going to hold you in good stead.
And then you're going to have a fall, and that's going to be the
That's
end.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So we're not limited by our age. We're limited by the way that we choose to use our bodies.
Yes.
And we sort of see, as in the Healthy Body Company, I won't speak for every physiotherapist everywhere, but we really see a part of our role is supporting people to understand, the importance of those health choices. And so, when you come along, you'll be doing some probably things that maybe you haven't done before, and that might, support you to make different choices going forward.
So do you feel that in terms of industry change over that period, the population you service is understanding that it's more than just a diagnosis and a fix on a particular problem, or is it more that, physio practices are evolving from, simple single fix issues to a more whole of patient health perspective?
So, first bit first.
Yeah.
We can't fix stuff, really. Like, we can identify what the problem is, and we can help people. We can do some things that will get them on the right path to healing, but their body has to heal itself, and they have to do some things to
help that happen.
That's exactly right. So, like, if you have ruptured a ligament in your ankle, quite possibly, depending on the nature of the rupture, we can't fix that, or maybe it can heal, but we have to put some things in place to help your body heal itself. So maybe immobilization or whatever. People, I think, maybe, like when I first started in the industry in the 90s, and that's just with health generally, like they really went to the health professional just expecting, someone to fix them and go on, right? Yeah. So, and that was everything, you went to the doctor and they would fix you, and and really they didn't do anything. But
it was almost transactional.
Yeah, that's right. It was like, whereas I think, and that's a very good point, like now we're very much more about that sort of, it's a partnership, and we're support, when we're talking in our team, it's very much about, how do we facilitate people going along, sticking to the plan, getting to the outcome that they need, not just dropping off and not doing their exercise or not doing, their program or whatever it might be, because we want them to get an outcome. Yeah. We don't want them to feel like they've not got a good return on their investment, but if they don't stick to the plan, they won't. So there's a lot of psychology in keeping them, on track and focused and getting to the outcome. Did that answer your question? So
well, sort of you did. No, I think you did. But as a leader in your business, how do you keep up with the industry and where it's going, and the trends and the things that are coming up? Is that just about being immersed in the industry, or are there things that you sort of focus on to help you stay ahead of what's going on?
Yeah, so I'm not a clinician, and I really rely on my clinicians to be, in the front of best clinical practice all the time. Yeah. So we're very much about evidence-based, and they're always looking at, new research and new developments and what's going on there. And then, in our quarterly meetings, Nathan will usually say, Trisha, I need a new...
I dread that name. He's an annoying senior physio, and I won't say which clinic he's in because, I don't want to give him any promotion.
No, he's asked me to invest a lot of money over the years in tools to help him to do his job well. So, that's an opportunity for them to bring in whatever they might need to do what they think will get the best outcomes for the, the niche client group that they might have. But, I feel like as a business leader, it's really not I'm not so much focused on what's happening in physiotherapy. I'm actually looking at what's happening, more broadly.
But that's really neat, right? Because you're almost suggesting, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I might have taken it the wrong way, but you're almost suggesting that in terms of innovation in the profession of physiotherapy, that comes from your clinicians, from your physios, from your group. Yep. You're just sort of guiding and melding and funding that as required.
That's it. But things like, one of my team came to me in December, and he had decided that he wanted to put together like an online pre-season program for soccer players and to sell that to, his niche, which is soccer players. So, I'd been doing lots of professional development in that space. So, I had the tools to be able to put together an online course that we could then market. We didn't have enough time because But, we could kind of, I suppose, have a go with a view to kind of building a lot more impetus for the following year. But, that's the sort of stuff that I'm trying to facilitate. Like, I see that we all need to have an online focus. We all need to be, reaching a broader market. We can't just be saying, okay, I'm a Penrith-based physio, so here I am.
People walking off the street.
That's it. It's like, there are services that we can offer to anyone, anywhere in the world, really. So how do we facilitate that? What do we do? Just to, make sure that we stay ahead to not be left behind.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I like that. A lot of things on your plate. 4 beautiful boys.
Oh, they're big now.
They're big boys?
Well, 14 to 22.
14 to 22. Yeah. And one's had some real challenges with cancer. Mm-hmm. And how is all of that with running a business, Trisha? Like, is it, and Steve, your husband's in the business as well. Is that really challenging, or are you able to, like, is it separate, or how does it work?
Oh no, look, it's terrible. It's a family business. That's the truth. 2 of my kids work as receptionists at one of our locations. One of the boys does all the washing for that location. Steve's a physio and he's a clinical director, so he's very much the kind of the head mentor across the whole business. It doesn't, it's there all the time, which, it's the good thing is that I can run my days and run it as I choose, but it's always there. And I mean, that's the kind of,
That's the trade-off in
absolutely.
a way, isn't it?
I can say, sure, James, I'll come and have a chat to you on a Thursday afternoon, no dramas. But, the stuff that has to happen still has to happen.
Yeah. But my sense is, in that sense, you're tied to the business, but it's different to some other business owners. I mean, you seem to be... You seem to have been able to activate your team significantly around you, so that, if you had to, urgently take something off for 2 weeks, the business wouldn't fall apart as a result.
I know. So the day-to-day, they don't need me.
No.
How good is that?
That's wonderful. That's why you're here.
That's right. I mean, there are lots of things that I do that nobody else in the business is doing. So, like when you've got your org chart and you're looking at, your marketing, your finance, your insurance, your whatever, I am pretty much all of that. Yeah. But those things don't have day-to-day urgency. And if you know your timelines and you've got your various, critical points, you can make all that happen. So I'm not getting phone calls from my team all day long, every day, occasionally, but, very rarely. Whereas I'll be with a group of business people who, I might be friends with, and the rest of them are literally on the phone the whole time, dealing with this, dealing with that. That doesn't happen to me, which I don't know. It's worked out well.
So what's the difference? What's the secret?
Well, I'm not on the tools, and I haven't ever been, I haven't been on the tools for a very long time. So there is no expectation that I'm going to have the answer to a clinical question. That's probably the first thing. Yeah. Right. So there are clinical leaders in our business, and they will manage the clinical problems as they arise, which, if you were talking about your manufacturing in that obscure area.
Industrial services. Yeah.
That's right. So quite possibly the owner of that business has expertise in that production process. And so if something went wrong with the production process, that person's on the phone. Whereas if a patient comes in, if there's a problem in the sense that there's a critical incident, I'll definitely be involved. But if there's, a concern about what are the decisions that we need to make here, no one's calling me because I don't have any of those answers. Ever.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. But they've also got, Steve there from a mentoring perspective on the technical professional side.
And that's it. Like, and you've seen, like we chatted about Nathan, who's, a senior physio. So I have senior physio at every location, 2 at some. I have got practice principals at every location. So there's a whole, there's a lot of depth in terms of our expertise that can sort of manage all of those day-to-day clinical issues that happen. I'm dealing with critical business incidents, which fortunately happen very rarely. Yeah.
But they can.
Yeah, they can.
But I guess there's a message here, not just for a allied health physio business, but any business, isn't there? Like there's expertise at different layers, but there's also an element of kind of trust in people's accountabilities to do what they do.
Yeah.
I think many business owners, it's a challenge to sort of devolve that trust and responsibility because of the risks of stuffing it up.
Yeah.
So
it's really interesting because and it make me, so I've been on some boards, and so that kind of whole idea around separating out strategy from operations, and in lots of ways I am quite separate from our operations. I really am sitting much more in the strategy part,
yes.
The way that I'm working every day, which we have intentionally developed depth in our operational side so that we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating. I met with some business owners the other day, and they said, look, we're not having issues with our team and our staff. And they said, but James, we over-employ, we over-invest in our team, right? And I thought, very interesting. And what they were saying is, people in like businesses, they'll try and run their team on the smell of an oily rag because they'll be focused on the profit thing.
Yeah.
Right? And let's say they're making, pick a figure, 25% of revenue as profit.
Yep.
Right? Where this business that we're talking about is quite a large, sizable business, successful family-owned business, and they're probably making 20% rather than 25%. But the fact that they've got reserves in their team that provides that depth, and so they've immediately mitigated some of those issues. And I think it's fascinating because people are, they're more than used to, and somewhat begrudgingly, about paying an insurance premium. Well, effectively, this is a real live dynamic insurance premium in the business.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I don't see a lot of business owners adopting that approach. Because the common knowledge is, well, you've got to be efficient, and your margin's important.
But hasn't COVID taught us some lessons around that?
Well, I hope so, but I wonder.
When you spread everything so thin and you've got no fat anywhere, then one piece falls over and you're done. It's a disaster.
That's right.
We have, I don't know, our team work 38 hours a week. They have, 76 potential appointments a week. The goal for my team is 55.
Yeah, right.
That's it. And if they exceed that, there's incentivization and they can do really well.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, I don't want anyone to do more. I just want them to do that. That works beautifully for everybody. Nobody's feeling super stretched. There will be times when they'll be busier because their colleagues on holidays or whatever, so they can, manage that. But we're not looking to kind of, fill everybody every minute, every day, because I want them to come back the next day.
But isn't that, we were talking before about managing growth, right?
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a strategy, right? You're saying, well, I'm not here to have the top of the Christmas tree. I'm happy to come down from that, but have it sustainable moving forward.
And a strong team is a team of all solid performers, not, one super high performer, which is a lot of allied health businesses. Like a lot of allied health businesses, there will be an owner who's like some, doing superhuman kind of crazy amount of work, and then a team of people below that person that maybe aren't quite doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
Whereas what I'm trying to do is empower all of my team to be solid, in the sense of the quantity of work, not the quality of work. Quality has to be the top of the Christmas tree, as you described it.
Yeah.
But the quantity doesn't need to be there, because if everyone's working well, then everyone can do really well.
I think that's a useful message, not just for allied health professionals, Trisha, it's been lovely talking to you. I'm just dying to ask this question. Were you always destined to be a business owner?
No, that's funny. So I really think that I would have been a really good employee. I really like not having to worry about, whether the photocopier works or, whether the parcel arrived. But when I was in Year 9, my commerce teacher asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, I want to be a managing director of a multinational corporation. A 14-year-old girl would ever know what that meant.
But
so
of course,
maybe this, it feels like the right thing. I feel like I'm doing a good job. I feel like I have the right attitude to support people to be good at what they're doing. So I wish I'd had me as a boss when I was 22. That's what I would say.
But when you say you feel like you're doing a good job, is it satisfying for you? Is it rewarding to you? What motivates you in that sense? What are the things that, What are the intrinsic things that say, yeah, I'm doing the right thing?
Well, it's again, just, back to the team. Like when I see people who, when I chat to them, they tell me that they're getting the things that they need and that their career is going where they want it to be and that the opportunities are the opportunities that they want. And I look around, we have an event and I see that, of all the people in the room, like a lot of them have been with me since they graduated from uni. Yeah. And I go, wow, we're doing a good job.
Yeah, that's lovely. And that's pretty special, right? Because,
it's amazing.
If you can have an impact on people's lives and your team can have an impact on people's lives like that, it's got to be satisfying for all. Trisha Cashmere, thank you very much.
Thanks, James.
That was Trisha Cashmere, CEO of the Healthy Body Company. And wow, wasn't it a treat to hear Trisha's views on leadership, people development, teams, and working together in your business to get a good result for the client. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram at JamesC_Price. And if you're up for improving your business, gaining access to knowledge, insights, our team, and consultations, join our online membership portal. Visit jpabusiness.com.au.